So there's been a spat going on between China and Japan, and it like flared off. First, tourists were told not to travel, and now it's come down to exports. What exactly caused this?
Well, I mean, this is caused by a statement by the new Japanese Prime Minister, Takechi. She made a statement saying if there's warship involved in the area around Taiwan, that would present a existential issue for Japan, which would necessitate U.S. Japanese military intervention. Now, she made this speech for a couple of reasons. One is the Japanese right-wing politicians have been pushing for decades to scrap the Article 9 of the Japanese Peace Constitution, which says Japan should not have a military except to maintain a self-defense force that will only be deployed in the defense of Japanese home territory. And but Japanese Prime Minister, all the way up to Shinzo Abe has trying to skirt around the issue. Shinzo Abe had tried to reinterpret that part of the Japanese constitution by saying, well, if there's some emergencies in the area around Japan, we are obligated to support our allies, right? And he still didn't specify. He was being very vague about it, but everybody know he was talking about Taiwan. But this time, the new Japanese prime minister explicitly said Taiwan. Japan will get militarily involved in Taiwan, and this crossed a red line. It crossed the reddest of the red line
Hmm.
of China because from China has always stated Taiwan is part of China. This is an internal issue to be resolved among Chinese people from both sides of the Taiwan Strait. And by Japan saying they're going to get militarily involved, this is a gross violation of China's internal matters. On top of that, Japan itself has a lot of historical baggage associated with its past aggression against China. The one time that the time that China lost Taiwan was through the first Sino-Japanese War of 1894-1895, when China was forced to give up Taiwan to the Empire of Japan, which became Taiwan then became a Japanese colony for 50 years until 1945, when Japan was defeated, and then Empire of Japan was forced to give Taiwan back to China. So, given this history, when a prime minister of Japan is saying the Japanese military is going to come revisit Taiwan, this caused a lot of anger among the Chinese people. And for the Chinese people, Taiwan is a very emotional issue, right? I think by now a lot of people in the world already understand the Ukraine issue is a very emotional issue for Russians. Well, Taiwan is a very emotional issue for the Chinese. And if you just add the Japanese to the mix,
Oh.
um, but it's a very explosive issue,
Mm.
and this is why China was greatly angered by the statement. And it's not like Chinese government need to strong arm its citizen not going to Japan. A lot of people I know they're voluntarily canceling their tickets because they're upset and they don't feel like at this particular juncture they should go spending money in Japan. And for Japanese tourism industry, Chinese tourists make up the second largest group
Yeah.
visiting Japan after South Korea. And so the Japanese tourism industry is already being hit hard right now, um, because there will become some consequences. That's just the least of the first consequences that we're going to see. But there will be a lot of the trade that's going to be affected. Japan still depend. Let's not forget, Japan still depend on rare earth supply from China. If China choose to, they can choke off that rare earth supply to Japan anytime. And also now there is disputed territory between Japan and China around the area of Dao, or what Japan calls Senkaku. And now the Japanese Coast Guard ship is going to start regular patrol around the area. So China have done that before, but now the patrol will be more frequent. It will be a regular occurrence. So I think the Japanese prime minister will find out she bit more than she could chew this time. I think there are a couple of reasons she did what she did.
Yeah,
One
yeah,
is
we'll come to that.
the
For
Japanese.
yeah, we'll come to that.
Go ahead.
What else is being hit in imports and exports between these two countries? You talked about tourism.
Well, okay. The Chinese car market remains one of still Chinese car market is the world's largest car market. Japanese car makers, they still sell good amount of cars in China, even though that has already been eaten away by a lot of the Chinese
Yeah,
domestic brand. But they do manufacture a lot of cars through their joint venture in China. That's going to get hit if the Chinese citizens start to boycott buying Japanese brand cars and by switching to the Chinese brand. So there's a lot of there's still a lot of trade between China and Japan that could be at stake. And again, it's totally unnecessary. Like her statement. This is I think there are a couple of reasons why she did what she did. One reason is, of course, she's trying to appeal to her right wing base, right? Like try by show we can be tough on China, right? And this is for her domestic audience, and then for externally, there is a sign that U.S. is um rather than pivoting to Asia to confront China, it looks like U.S. is doing a tactical retreat right now from Western Pacific, especially after Trump meeting in South Korea. That it looks like that there's going to be a very temporary, maybe very fragile détente between U.S. China at the current moment. And this is why U.S. is now pivoting to its own quote unquote backyard to confront Venezuela. This is not what the Japanese right wing politicians they want to see, because they made Japan U.S. security pact the cornerstone of their national policy. They don't want to be left alone to hold the bag and confronting rising China. So they have, by creating this crisis, they're trying to drag United States back in. I'm not saying U.S. is giving up on confronting China. I still think that the people in Washington has never gave up on the goal of U.S. primacy, that including confront China. It's just right now they're trying to do a tactical retreat by focusing on their own hemisphere, the Western hemisphere, trying to get rid of the Chinese and Russian influence there, and then also in Africa, like in case of Nigeria, and rather than confront China directly at this moment. But for you know for Japan, this was still unacceptable. They want U.S. to provide the assurances that they would not leave, and I think this may be one reason she's doing this.
so yeah, we saw Trump earlier visiting Japan. We had Dr. David on the show. He said that he didn't visit Japan, he just visited his own base. And the Japanese prime minister went to visit that Trump. So he had a lot of problems, them meeting on the US base. Did that power something towards this direction? That small hug during the speech?
Well, first of all, like Japan and US is it's a client master relationship. It has been since World War II. Japan is still a military occupied country. US stationed tens of thousands of troops on soils of Japan. And as you see, when US President Trump visited a US base in Japan, the Japanese Prime Minister went there to meet him and basically fawned all over him. And this is again, Japan is acting as a supplicant here. They're coming to the U.S. asking for protection, asking for favor. Um, and this is why I argue this is an engineer crisis to on the part of Japan to get keep U.S. involved in East Asia, especially to shore up the Japan-U.S. alliance. Now, the U.S.-Japan alliance is very much based on containing China, and particularly in the area around Taiwan. So this is by raising this issue, this very sensitive issue for China, uh, Japan is testing waters. So I have a feeling in the next coming weeks, you're gonna have a lot of Western politicians making a show of showing solidarity of Japan, or maybe even visiting Japan, and these will be the countries will be essentially vassals of the United States, of the U.S. empire, or you might even see some U.S. congressmen going to Japan to making a show of support. But I think China is going to make sure Japan will have to suffer some consequences.
How do you see this ending, and how much time do you think this would take?
Well, I mean, this could take as long as it takes. As long as Japan maintain this attitude of provocation. I mean, China can't like China back in 2012, China did cut off a rare earth export to Japan, and in 2025, China could do it again because, as Japan find out back then, when trying to circumvent the China's export control on rare earth, it wasn't really able to do so successfully. Or what they were able to do is they were finding a lot of transshipment, for example, through third countries like India was providing them with essentially shipment of Chinese rare earth. And I think China now putting a more sophisticated export control on the rare earth now as a result of their earlier trade spat with the United States. Now they're going to have a verification system to make sure the rare earth goes to its intended destination and not be and rather not be transshipped to where they're not supposed to go. So if China do slap rare earth restriction on Japan, that could have serious consequences on Japanese industries because to run a modern economy, you do need all these critical minerals.
What is China demanding? Is China demanding an apology from the foreign
Oh,
minister?
demanding a retraction.
Retraction.
China is
Okay.
demanding a retraction, like a walk back. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we already saw some kind of damage control by the Japanese government. Japanese send an emergency envoy to Beijing, and to hold talks. But I think we're gonna have to see. I don't think the prime minister will necessarily issue a retraction anytime soon because she also have to maintain her appearances, her image as a tough on China politician. I think this could drag on for a little bit, until the Japanese economy feels the full weight of the consequences. Then maybe Japan will make some corrections.
And we're gonna because you did mention India, we're gonna take a quick jump to India and Bangladesh. Bangladesh ex prime minister got a death sentence, and she is in India right now. Um Bangladesh is demanding her back. India has not answered anything till now. How do you see this end? Is India gonna give Sheikh Hasina Wajid back to Bangladesh, or is this gonna be a bigger problem for India?
I don't think India at this moment will give her back. But I think this will be a thorn on the side of bilateral relationship between India and Bangladesh for a long time to come. India already have deteriorating ties with Bangladesh as a result of the regime change in Bangladesh, and I think it's they're go I mean, currently India is not having great relationship with most of the countries on its border. this whole Bangladesh thing is just adding it one more countries that have bad ties with India. So this is we'll have to see. I think as long as the current Bangladesh government is in power, I don't see Indian government making any concessions soon, because they really see the current government in Bangladesh as antagonistic toward Indian interest.
Mm. Mm. So there was this terrorist attack at in Delhi at a metro station, the Red Fort metro station, and for the first time, India came out and blamed other people, other than Pakistan, other states than Pakistan. He went down to say that Turkey was involved and Bangladesh was involved and Pakistan was involved. What is happening here? This is the first time that India implicated Turkey in this.
Well, I think by spreading the blame around, I think maybe Indian government is hoping there will be less public demand for revenge against Pakistan, because that's they tried that last time by blaming the attack in Kashmir on Pakistan, and it didn't work out very well for India's international image, or for Indian military's reputation. So I don't think India is ready to repeat that again. So I mean, by spreading the blame around this time, I think that in a way, I think it lessens the impact for India to government to do some take some military action. Because it's unrealistic to demand India taking military action against Turkey, for example. And so I think that might play some part of it.
Well, that took India down a different alley because India had ordered military helicopters which were in Europe, had to fly over Turkey to reach India. Turkey denied their airspace. So, I mean, this went the other way. And I don't know what's going to happen after this.
Well, I mean, Turkey also has a maintain a friendly relationship with Pakistan. And that's another thing that India doesn't like. But again, India has not made too many friends lately. It's especially um, a lot of the Indian, particularly both Indian government and Indian media stands regarding the Gazan genocide. Their kind of ambiguous stance, and they're trying to maintain friendly relationship with Israel. Did not win them any friends in the Muslim majority world. So this is just a part of that, and that of course it stems from the Indian government its own problem with its the Indians' own Muslim population, and there's a lot of Islamophobia in India right now, and that gets, of course, that's going to reflect badly on Indians' relationship with the broader Muslim world.
True that. Okay, at the last part, the SEO has been moved to Moscow. World leaders are gathering there. What's on the table?
Well, first of all, it shows the whole farce of Washington's attempt to isolate Russia. The world leaders keep on meeting there, and or Putin keep on getting invited to international forums that's outside of the control of the Western alliance. And there's a lot of things that to be discussed. Given the present, recently Trump was, trying to woo away the Central Asian republics, for example, quote unquote, to counter Russian and Chinese influence. I don't think that's realistic, because the geographic location of Central Asia, sitting in between Russia, China, and Iran, means there's really not that much United States could do. But I'm sure those will be part of the discussion on the table for the SEO. and because a lot of these Central Asian republics are part of the they're part of the SAO membership, and the and not to mention, U.S. is just tighten up more sanctions, impose more sanctions against Russia, and threatening to do more. A lot of the SCO members have trade with Russia, so potentially they could be discussing strategy how to counter any pending U.S. sanctions.